think, or at least I hope, is uplifting for our troops and their families. As a matter of fact, this whole run that we've been on, 2 or 3 days ago, I can't keep up with it. We left Nashville and flew to New York City, and we played there that night, and it was Wounded Warrior tribute and a salute and honoring an awards banquet for some great American heroes from all branches of the service. We got up early the next morning, flew to Orlando, and last night we played. The whole band was there. They got us the full band for the last show of the year in Orlando, and that was a coalition to salute our American heroes. And it's a conference called the Road to Recovery for wounded and injured veterans and wounded warriors, and that was an amazing event. And then today we flew here. It's the weirdest thing, man. In Chicago, when we got there and went to our gate to get on the flight to Watertown, they just acted like they didn't know what the hell we were talking about. They just looked at us like we'd lost our mind. And I said, no, there really is a Watertown, New York, and that's where we're going. And it said G4. And they're like, well, we'll check on it for you. Acted like we were all crazy. And then when it was time to go, buddy, they just said, all right, y'all get on, let's go. Like, dang. They said boarding all gates and all passengers. It took us about 5 minutes to get in there. In other words, there wasn't that many people wanting to come up here, but I'm just carrying on with y'all. But back to what I was trying to say. I grew up in a military family, and I almost joined the Air Force right out of high school, and I found out from the guy that was, well, my recruiter was my second cousin. She had me all jacked up about flying these fighter jets, you know. Me and my older brother, that's what we both wanted to do, except he wanted to fly for the Navy, and I wanted to fly for the Air Force. And the guy that came down to sign me up, he called me off to the side and said, you ain't going to be able to get in them fighter jets. He said, your legs are too dang long. And he was serious. And my dad goes, I can't believe he didn't just sign you up and then tell you afterwards, because he said that's what most of them would have done. So that's God's honest truth. That's why I didn't join the military right out of high school. I mean, everybody else in my family did. And so then I almost joined the Army right out of college, because I had found out enough stuff by that point that I knew that was probably the best place to go. And they had a lot of specialized things that you could do in the Army, and I was interested in some of that. And my uncles all said, you're going to be bored to death. There ain't nothing going on out there. And so I got hung up on this music thing. And so long story short, what I'm getting around to is that this has given us a way to try to give something back to you guys, and to serve the people that serve us every day, and do something a little bit different. And hopefully, especially in a wartime situation, and I think we just recently saw it. You know, when we were over there at Thanksgiving, I could tell that it meant something to a handful of people, and probably more than what we realized. That there was something from home there, you know, just a little spark of home, whatever. And it means the world to us to be able to do that. And but more than that, it means the world to us what you guys do. And I try to explain this to people. I don't know if y'all have noticed, but since about 2003 or 4, you hadn't seen me on national TV a lot, because I don't say what they like to hear. And I won't probably ever be back on TV a whole lot, because TV's basically owned and operated by liberal media, and liberal media doesn't typically tell you the truth, you know. We see a lot of horrible stuff, but how often do you see all the positive things that our troops are doing in the war zone? How often do you see the shoe drives and the water supplies and the orphanages and the school systems and all these things that we do, all the lives that we save? You know, they want to see the horrible stuff, and they want to play it up, and they want me to come on TV and say what they want to hear, and I'm just not going to do that, because I get to see this stuff firsthand. And if they want to talk to me about the American troops and their morale, I said, man, I've been to some of the worst places that you could possibly go in the war zone at the worst times. And you know what? They're not ever ready to give up. They always keep their chin up. Somehow they keep morale. and they keep on plugging forward. They get up every day and they push that big rock up the hill, even though they know that they're not maybe getting the best publicity on television. They don't care about that because that's not the mission. The mission is to do what the American troops do. And so, having said all that, I'm just trying to say we love you and appreciate you. And when I go home to my family, and I go in there every night and put that mean little redhead to bed, and we say our prayers, and we don't worry about somebody busting in on us with a gun or telling us we can't worship the way we want to. We don't worry about someone bombing us in the middle of the night. And we just don't worry about a lot of that stuff that I know people in other countries worry about all the time. And the reason we don't is because we got men and women that'll take the fight over there to them. And I try to tell folks all the time, you should keep your mouth shut if you got something negative to say about our troops and their mission, because you don't ever smell the gunpowder. You don't ever smell the smoke. So that's kind of what this song's about. And a lot of situations I ask people to remember the men and women that died on 9/11. Not just the citizens, but the folks on the home front that look out for us day in and day out, that we take for granted. Firemen and paramedics and police officers and sheriffs and deputies and state troopers and EMTs and rescue workers and all these people that serve us here on the home front, and especially our military overseas in the fight, the people that inspired this song. This song's been the biggest blessing of my life as far as paying the electric bill, and I owe you guys a huge thank you, because when I tell you that it was inspired by the troops, it's the God's honest truth. I hear people say we don't need this war. I say there's some things worth fighting for. What about our freedom and this piece of ground we didn't get to keep backing down? They say we don't realize the mess we're getting in. Before you start your preaching, let me ask you this, my friend. Have you forgotten how it felt that day to see your homeland under fire and her people blown away? Have you forgotten when those towers fell? We had neighbors still inside, going through living hell. And you say we shouldn't worry about Bin Laden. Have you forgotten? They took all the footage off my TV, said it's too disturbing for you and me. It'll just breed anger, that's what the experts say. If it was up to me, I'd show it every day. Some say this country's just out looking for a fight. After 9/11, man, I'd have to say that's right. Have you forgotten how it felt that day to see your homeland under fire and her people blown away? Have you forgotten when those towers fell? We had neighbors still inside, going through living hell. Yeah, thanks to some sick bastard named Bin Laden. Have you forgotten? Been there with the soldiers who've gone away to war. You can bet that they remember just what they're fighting for. Have you forgotten all the people killed. Yeah, some went down like heroes in that Pennsylvania field. Have you forgotten about our Pentagon? All the loved ones that we lost, and those left to carry on. Now we don't have to worry about Bin Laden. Have you forgotten? Have you forgotten